Tomorrow about 7 a.m., a charter jet will leave the Rupert International Airport heading straight for the nation's capital. On that jet will be about 80 of our Mississippi World War II veterans. This is the 7th and final flight for the Mississippi Gulf Coast Honor Flight. This organization's goal when it started these trips more than 2 years ago was to take 500 Mississippi World War II vets to see their memorial in Washington. With this flight, they will have taken about 600. Tonight we sit down with one of the men taking this final trip. In a sense, he represents what our World War II veterans are all about.
Well, I live a very quiet, peaceful life. Been happy all my life.
His name is Rupert Malone, and he lives in Picayune. He's a God-fearing, humble, and good man. Rupert's 92 now. Those days on board a ship during World War II are just a long-ago memory.
I don't know, I just never have thought too much about World War II.
But December 7th of 1941 is one day he will never forget.
I thought it was a drill, and the sounded general quarters. Got out there and found out Pearl Harbor was being attacked.
Although he was stationed at Pearl Harbor, his ship happened to be a few miles out to sea when the attack came that morning. Just a few hours later, they came back into harbor.
Oh, water with a fire, oil all over it and burning in the water. Ships afire and turned bottom up and everything else.
Rupert was a 20-year-old radio man on board that ship.
We knew we had a job to do, and it just didn't register with us the extent of the thing, I don't think.
Later in the war, at Guadalcanal, the ship he served on board was attacked and sunk.
We were torpedoed, and it just raised the ship up and sunk us back down. We had about 1,000 crew, and I think about 100 didn't make it.
Rupert was also in the Battle of Midway and other battles as well. He made it through the war with barely a scratch. Like so many others, he came home from war and raised a family, had a career, and never really asked for any thanks or recognition. And when you ask him these days about being part of the greatest generation,
I didn't know we were until I read that in that book, so it never registered with me.
Rupert Malone and the millions he served with gave us a gift. It's called freedom. Our World War II veterans are humble men who leave behind a legacy of dignity, courage, and so much humility.
I just never figured that anybody or any country owed me anything. I've got more out of it than I've given all my life.
Rupert Malone of Picayune, just like other members of the greatest generation, if you ask them, they'll say they're not heroes. We think they are. Mr. Malone and the other World War II veterans head off tomorrow morning to see their memorial in D.C. Now, for these veterans, now in their 80s and 90s, it is a final thank you to them. We'll be going along on that final flight. Be sure to be at WLOX International tomorrow night at 7 o'clock, by the way, for the homecoming ceremony. It is always a very emotional time. Of course, we'll have stories on the trip on WLOX and on WLOX.com. Rebecca?